Hi, my name is Todd Royce, and in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know in order to never pay for any sort of energy ever again. You will see how something that costs virtually nothing for you to produce can be converted into any sort of energy you may need: heat, electricity, car, combustible. It's your key to reducing your energy dependency by at least 80% while saving you $2,000 or more per year. In this presentation, I'm also going to expose an incredibly dangerous secret, something that big energy companies have spent billions of dollars and over 100 years trying to keep you from ever finding out about. And once you know what it is, you'll realize that everything you need to power your car or even your home was there all this time, waiting for someone to properly use it. I'm not talking about hydrolysis or anything similar, which will get you to harness the power found in water. That's also a good way of reducing your energy dependency, but it's far more complicated and dangerous to implement than what I am going to show you. In fact, once you've learned about this suppressed fuel source, something that's far more effective than hydrogen power, solar power, electricity, biomass, or even hydrogen oil, and which more than 27,342 Americans like you have already discovered, you'll feel like you've been transported back into the good old days, a time when you didn't even care about electricity, or when the gas bill arrived and $20 could keep your car running for weeks, where Sunday drives were an American tradition, not a death blow to your wallet. You'll never have to pay in full for your utility bills ever again. In fact, most of the users which started using this miracle of nature got off the grid, never having to pay for utility bills or car fuel ever again. It's also more than environmentally friendly, as it's actually feeding with the noxious gases you get by burning regular fuel. This includes regular gasoline, diesel, coal, natural gas, etc. So not that you will be doing yourself a service, you do Mother Nature a service too, by using this fuel that's available to everyone at no cost. You'll never again experience that sinking feeling that comes from telling your wife or children that you can't set the thermostat higher during the harsh winter or lower on the burning summer. Now, I know what you're thinking. If I can power my car at home for almost at no cost at all, with materials found in my own home, why have I never heard of this before? The answer to that question is greed. This has been a kept secret for a long time, falsifying studies to show that this is not impossible, and this boundless greed single-handedly led to the deaths of tens of millions of innocent civilians, the bloody rise of dozens of deadly dictators, and even the world's most catastrophic environmental disasters. I'll give you the full story in just a moment, and of course I'll also tell you what this total combustible replacement is and how you can use it today to free yourself and your family from being slaves to the energy companies and the oil mafia. But first, let me take 30 seconds to explain who I am and how I came to discover that our nation's entire dependence on electricity and gasoline is nothing but a mass-manufactured lie. As I mentioned, my name is Todd, and for over 15 years, I was employed as a scientist at one of the largest coal power plants in the United States. Mostly, my job was to measure how much toxic gases got freed into the atmosphere. And this is the main reason I discovered this magnificent way of generating free power, by looking for a way to stop those gases from harming our planet. Now, there's no doubt that I was blessed to have the same job for so long. Having such a responsibility was not easy at all, though. When I first saw the charts of how much carbon dioxide and other poisonous gases were released into the atmosphere in one single day, I said there must be another way. We looked into fancy filters made in Japan, which were able to reduce some of that, but not enough. Then it hit us. When the economy started to deteriorate, funds were cut, and we had nothing else to fight the deadly gases which were released into the atmosphere every single hour, 24/7. It also started becoming harder and harder to keep my family afloat, as I was risking to lose my job if there was nothing I could do for the power plant anymore. I started to have a sick feeling in my stomach, thinking that my children could end up with no food on the table if I cannot find a solution to keep my job and do something major with no funds to spend on other fancy projects. So I started looking for solutions day and night. There were a dozen of things I had on my list to try before the funds were cut, but now I had to start from scratch, as I had less than a couple of $100 in my pocket that I would have gambled to get a prototype done. This seems crazy, I know. I had over a couple of millions before which we spent on the coal filters that reduced the gas emissions with less than 5%, and now that a couple of $100 can make any difference at all? The thing is that you cannot believe what limited resources and all desperation will make out of people. I started studying Mother Nature, as it has its own pollution sources, but somehow she manages to keep everything clean and healthy. I started looking into how lakes manage to keep a fresh water and keep all the creatures found in them alive, with no human intervention at all. I am not sure if you've seen this before, but if you keep your water in your pool for a couple of days without any circulation or treatment, it will start smelling bad because of all the bacteria found in it. So my question was, how lakes manage to stay fresh, as rain and natural water sources are not enough to circulate the entire mass of water. I began talking with a biologist friend that I have about how this process works, and what I found was about to change my life forever. It turned out that Mother Earth has indeed the answer for this problem as well. There is a small plant in every water opening which is consuming the carbon dioxide and other gases that are released by dead plants or fish. I am actually talking about the fastest growing photosynthetic organisms on the planet, capable of reproducing virtually overnight, doubling its mass in a matter of hours. Now, you might ask, what this has to do with generating your own fuel? Well, everything. As the algae not only that consumes the bad gases found in the atmosphere, they also produce massive amounts of lipids, which can be converted easily into fuel. They are also a healthy food source, if you choose to eat them, as they produce beta-carotene and vitamin E. So let me get back to my project for a second. Then we'll tell you more about how you can actually harness this untapped power of nature. I will show you a video with the concept that I actually started years ago, using the algae as a natural filter for the coal plant I was working at, which, by the way, reduced the emissions with over 20%, and it cost less than a couple of $100 to implement for the entire plant. The cost was the actual recipients, which hold the plants, and the plants are reproducing by themselves after you plant them. You can see in this video how easy it is to grow your own biofuel if you know what steps to follow, what algae you should plant, and what's the DIY solution so you build this as fast and cheaper as possible. Then extract the fuel out of these plants. Now let me pause here for a moment to point something out you may already know. The cost of gasoline and of electricity in this country has exploded in the last few years. In 2008, the average price was around $1.82 per gallon. In 2010, it averaged $3.15 per gallon. And by 2012, the average price for a gallon of gasoline in this country was $3.87. I won't talk about electricity prices, as you know very well how much they've been raised, and they won't stop raising the prices if we remain their power-consuming slaves. Even today, with the price of gas down to around $3 a gallon, it's still almost $2 per gallon more than it was just a few years back. Let me tell you the reason you've never heard of any major free or renewable electricity source being efficient at a small scale, so every person can have their own power plant at a small to nothing cost to build and maintain. Investors of energy devices have been bullied by large energy-related corporations and their allies in the United States government, who seek to maintain their energy slavery of the people by aggressively suppressing development of energy inventions. The illegal as well as legal tactics of these suppression actions have encompassed imprisonment on false charges, IRS harassment, burglaries, bribery with huge sums of money, and even murder if the inventor was too stubborn to heed warnings or undeterred by lesser actions. Sometimes, apparently to con investors out of money, it seems, or is made to appear, that the supposed energy inventions have been science fiction props or incorrectly measured devices that the alleged inventors have tried to cover up the scam by claiming to be conspiracy victims. There are more than 50 energy invention suppression incidents recorded in the U.S. court and over a dozen of dead, missing, or injured energy inventors, activists, and associates. 16 energy inventors claimed in court that they were threatened with death. 7 energy researchers and associates imprisoned. There are approximately 4,000 inventions classified secret by U.S. Patent Office and 9 incidents involving oil companies. These are the names of oil companies and banks involved: Standard, Atlantic, Richfield, Shell Oil Company, World Bank, Wells Fargo Bank. Possibly the most impressive energy invention that I bet you never heard about was made by Philippines inventor, which has converted more than 100 cars to run only on plain water. Aluminum is used in the tank to suppress a possible explosion. The Philippines president was not interested because of an agreement with the World Bank. The project was shut down before reaching mass media. During the early days of the Reagan administration, much lip service was given and some money budgeted to develop alternative sources of energy. Pahrump, Nevada resident Grant Hudlow, a former rocket scientist, was funded to investigate converting garbage, biomass, and tires to gasoline, low-grade heat, fertilizer, and saleable chemicals. His method began to look so promising that the oil industry and their allies in the Reagan administration got scared and cut off his research funds. A mixed chemical stone was found in England and secretized by the Queen. It generated its own electrical sparks. April 2007, Wells Fargo Bank announced they finally invested $5 million of the $1 billion intended for renewable energy. Where did they invest? In a mutual fund. Carlyle Riverstone Renewable Energy Infrastructure Fund, ILP. Funny thing, who are the 3 largest stockholders of Carlyle Group? The answer, in order of largest percentage owned: the Queen of England, the Bush family, and Bin Laden family. I could go on with these cases to show you how big their efforts for cover-ups were made. And they did the same with the power, which can be harnessed from algae, after we tested and saw how much fuel you can make out of these plants. But this is not what they did in the past to cover all of these great inventions, or what they are trying now to keep information from spreading, that you can be energy independent. It's all about no longer being overlooked as a dangling piece of meat by big oil monarchs and leaders, greedy men who think they are above the law and who pay themselves as though they were kings. And never again being forced into supporting violent foreign rulers who oppress their own people, or Middle Eastern terrorists who hate America but who accept our oil companies' checks with big open arms. This is about taking back your power. It's about becoming totally independent and self-reliant. And it's about taking the actions today that will keep yourself and your family protected from corporate gouging and greed for decades to come. No matter what, even if gas prices hit $20 a gallon, you will still enjoy the quality of life you deserve. In fact, you will be in a power position to even become richer by selling your own excess fuel. I know that you don't want to be on the couch 5 years from now watching the news, seeing a story about how gas just hit another record high, and suddenly remember this video. You won't want to regret not taking the simple actions today that would have made you totally energy independent, instead of wondering how you'll be able to afford to get to work, or having to leave your house 2 hours every morning to beat the lines of the bus station. I've set the regular retail price for Algae Hidden Secrets to $127, and every single family member and friend, along with more than 27,342 people who have already built this, tell me that that's way too low. Well, I disagree. I do understand their point. Think about it. If your car holds 14 gallons, you fill up once a week, and the price of gas is a low $3 per gallon. That's $2,016 you'll be paying in gas over the next year, and $20,160 you'd be handing over to some of the world's most evil and greedy oil companies in the coming decade. Now think about what those numbers will be if you are using the method outlined in the Algae Hidden Secrets video program instead. The only cost for you to produce your own fuel is building a small algae farm, which can take anywhere from a square foot to a few square feet, depending on how much fuel you consume. It will take you 3 days worth of algae to make 10 gallons, so about 5 to fill a full 15-gallon tank. Think about what you can do with the $2,000 you save a year. Or better than that, think about what you can do with $20,000 that you otherwise would have handed to the big oil mafia in the next 10 years. That's enough money to buy a new car, or put your child through college, or purchase 4 around-the-world plane tickets with almost unlimited miles. And these estimates don't even begin to touch the surface of what will happen if the price of gas really rises, which virtually all experts agree it will. 5 years from now, with the price of gas around $5 a gallon, you'll still be growing your own energy, paying for just the maintenance and the processing of the plants. If you get Algae Hidden Secrets today, it's a no-brainer. So $127 should seem like the deal of a lifetime. But after seeing my friends and family's wallets emptied at the gas tank just so they can get to work, just so they can make enough money to keep getting more gas, and after seeing what our nation's dependence on oil has led to, of watching the terrorist attacks of September 11th, of seeing us lose tens of thousands of young American lives in Iraq and Afghanistan, I believe that even $127 is too much money. You need to have this, and you need to get